And we'll start with a little introduction about me. My clients like to call me their technology therapist. And if that helps you, you are more than welcome to use it too. We really dig into the emotions around here. I really feel that technology is not binary, it's not robotic, it's a very emotional thing, and that we have permission to be emotional around our technology, whether that's happy emotions or sad emotions or anything in between. And currently, I hail from Vancouver, Washington, which is the other Vancouver up here in the Pacific Northwest. And I'm technically outside of Portland, Oregon. It's really beautiful up here. If you haven't been here, I hope you can join us sometime. I work with highly sensitive online business owners, and so hence the emotional aspect around technology and systems. And most of my clients have online offerings, if not in part, then in full, especially in this day and age in our COVID and post-COVID worlds. We are fully into the digital age. So I have found that, especially in the past year, a lot of folks who were kind of dragging their feet on some tech tools have been forced to really get into it. And it's brought up a lot of anxieties, which is what we're going to dig into today. And you're going to learn that has a lot less to do with technology and more to do with life and making peace with certain things. So fun facts about me, I am a real life librarian. I have my Master of Science in Information from the University of Michigan School of Information. And I started my career in corporate as a digital archivist for the Disney Animation Research Library. It was a lot of fun. I've also worked for marketing companies and nonprofits. I've worked in libraries themselves as a technology director. And I've also been an intuitive reader all that time, over 20 years. So it started with tarot and Akashic Records readings. For a while now, I've been using the human design system with my clients to help them learn their personal systems even better. So while we're not going to get into all of that here in today's talk, you'll probably notice that there's a lot of that sort of metaphysical, holistic element that infuses everything that I teach here at Sensible Woo when it comes to systems. I believe that we live in a both and world, and we can be two things at the same time, which is where the name Sensible Woo came from. We can be sensible and woo all together. So let's talk about the three things that we'll learn to get today together. Firstly, you are your number one system. How you feel about your software matters. It really, really matters. And your roots, we're going to be using this analogy about flowers and blooming. So having really good roots for yourself enables you to be a better couple with your business. And you're going to learn that your business also has roots. You and your business both have what we call a chakra system, root chakras. And we're going to take a look at how those two things run in tandem so you can be a better couple. We're also going to talk about making decisions and not reactions a lot today. So we like to master our process here at Sensible Woo first. And I'm hoping that by you seeing how we approach that it brings a little more peace to you this season and this year in 2021 as you continue to grow in your work and your passions. So we're going to work on putting on our CEO pants first. This is a really common mantra that we use here at Sensible Woo. What it is you are getting mentally dressed up. So yes, a lot of us work from home. I also wear sweatpants and yoga pants like every day. Why not be comfortable if you're going to be sitting at home working, right? But mentally, we want to get a little more dressed up. We want to think about that mental shift that happens when you have that really great pair of pants or that great suit and you put it on, physically put it on. Your demeanor changes, your posture changes, everything about you changes, especially your mindset. There's a reason why we like to get dressed up for important events. And so you kind of want to be doing that for yourself every day in your business. So there's going to be many times that we're going to go through this framework and you're going to think, I think I need to put on my CEO pants in this moment so that I can level up a little bit. I'm starting to shrink a little bit. I'm wearing my business sweatpants just a little too much in this scenario. So if you need to take a moment, take a deep breath, put on your CEO pants right now. And we're going to head into the first lesson, which is that you are your first system. In business, I think we think a lot of times that the technology is sort of that it will just sort of take over certain things that we don't want to do or we don't want to think about. And that's just really not the case. Your tech is there to support you, but you are your first system. And even if you have a lot of cash flow, whether, you've had profits from a previous business that are funding a new venture, or you have an angel investor or any other kind of funding experience, even even in those situations, while you have the means and the ability to buy really fancy software and spend a lot of money, which can go very quickly out the door, it doesn't matter how fancy the software tool is. It's never going to fix the number one system, which is you, how you relate to your business, the process that you choose as the CEO. And so this is why we take it back a step here at Sensible Woo, and we really think about, what are the processes that I feel comfortable with? What am I ready for right now? And then we grow into our tech systems from there. So just remember, no amount of money, no amount of fancy software is going to fix a process problem. So we fix process problems first. Now let's get into our analogy about roots. It's springtime. This Highbury Summit is coming at just the right time. And just like in the garden, when you have good soil and you have good roots, the plant is going to flourish. And the same thing happens with you too and your business. But here's a little nifty trick that I want you to think about. When we talk about our businesses, we often call them entities. We call them legal entities and we call them fiscal entities. And an entity is a being. So if you think about your business in terms of an entity, you realize that your business has its own spirit, has its own energy, its own flow. So it might be a part of you, but you are not your business and your business is not you as the CEO. And so what we want to do is really take a look at the different systems that we grow up with in our world views that help us understand what roots and foundations really are. So here we're going to look at the chakra system first, and then we're going to take a look at a more academic system, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I'm going to pull them back together in the third step. So you can see how everything is really quite related, whether you go on a woo-woo direction or you go on a practical direction. So in the chakra system, if you don't spend a lot of time in the holistic and metaphysical world, we'll do a quick review here. You think about your physical body that you live in your everyday human experience, like an apple. There's a core, an apple core in that apple, right? So in your body, it's kind of the same thing. And that apple core for your body is what we call the Kundalini, and it's made up of 7 chakras. So what happens in our businesses is this 7th chakra at the crown of your head is the point where we're able to connect with the divine. And you'll find out here in Maslow's hierarchy, the self-actualization point of that pyramid is also a point of divinity and being able to engage in spirituality. So here at the chakras, a lot of times I hear from entrepreneurs, they got really inspired by something, a seed of some kind of a plant of information drops in through the crown. And if you don't want to acknowledge it, that thing, it will go away. But if you acknowledge that energy, it will drop down from your crown into your third eye, which is where you start to have visions around your work. You can actually see something happening. That's what I mean by visions. You can actually see like, oh, this thing has potential. And then it drops down from your third eye into your throat region. And when it gets to your throat region, this is when you can start articulating actual words and descriptions around this thing you've been really inspired by. And as you are able to communicate those words out into the world, you also start getting feedback, which is very affirming. After the throat, it drops down into your heart region. And when you connect in your heart region, of course, you're feeling all the feels. And this is where you really start to get connected with this new venture, this offer, this project that you're working on. And as that energy grows and gets stronger, it drops down into the solar plexus, which is your third chakra. And now we're getting into the lower chakra region, which gets into our foundations. So one of the interesting things with the solar plexus region, in the chakra system, it is the center of your personal power. It's the center of your self-esteem. And in our more modern biology and holistic medicine, there's a lot of talk these days about how your guts are considered like your second brain. And I find it not a coincidence that when I see entrepreneurs working through the energy systems of their business, when they get to the third chakra, they get to their mindset. Not a coincidence that it's in your gut. It's not in your head, it's in your gut. And as we work through those mindset issues around limiting beliefs or any fears that we have, the energy can begin to flow a little more. So it's kind of like a little bit of a speed bump here at the solar plexus. And as we get over that speed bump, the energy then grows pretty quickly and it drops down into the sacral region, which is our center of creativity. And down in the sacral region, when we get into our businesses, it's where we really grow our brand. We really grow our offers. We start putting things out there. It's a very exciting. It's a very fun, very creative, and also a little chaotic. And it gets really messy very quickly when it comes to things like data management. And as that energy grows, it's inevitable. It's going to drop into the root. And your root chakra, when you're doing spiritual practice, has a lot to do with things like healing ancestral karmic energy, dealing with the issues you've inherited from, say, your parents. And when you do that deep root work to work on becoming a better human being, a better soul in this lifetime, you begin to heal certain aspects around your human experience. And when you do that root work, the energy really has a chance to grow and build and become more of like a hot engine that will run this energy center. So in your physical body, anybody who's ever done Kundalini work knows that the energy cycles up and down and up and down. And the same thing happens inside of your business. So when you do the root work, it enables the energy to cycle back up, come up to the crown, and that is the point when you answer your calling. Now, it's an iterative process, so you're going to be cycling a few times, but I see a lot of people hold their energy back in their businesses. It drops down through the crown and they kind of hang out in the heart region. They kind of hang out in these upper regions and they never really let the energy drop fully down through the root so they can do the deeper foundational work. And what happens is you're kind of shortchanging yourself and you're also creating extra friction for yourself that doesn't need to exist. So let's take a look at the academic version of this, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it looks like a pyramid. And as all pyramids have, they have a wide base at the bottom and then a little pointy part at the top. And in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the whole theory behind it is that as a human, in order to reach self-actualization, which is things like answering your calling in life, you need a strong base. You need to know first and foremost that you have food in your belly, a roof over your head, that you're safe, that you're, not going to come to physical harm. And when you have those things in place, you can actually do the higher level work in life. And the same thing is true when we're talking about our root. If we don't feel like we have strong energy in our root chakra, if we're always feeling in fight or flight mode, it's going to be kind of hard to do that higher level work. And the same thing's true here in Maslow's hierarchy. So Maslow's hierarchy shows us that we really have to prepare to thrive. We have to make sure that we do that. And when we overlay the two systems together, so interesting, they line right up. We're really meant to support our whole journey and to realize that you have to have a base first. So this is where the roots really come from in this talk today. I hope that you see how both of these different systems from totally different disciplines support each other and back each other up. Because if you want to be a better partner with your business, if you want to really go through couples therapy together and get this right, you have to set up that foundation. And that foundation for you and your business is systems. It's all about systems. It's about your process. It's about your software. It's about your technology. It's about the things that help make everything run. So when we're talking about these systems then and having that strong base, we also need another ingredient. We need resilience. And resilience is, there's no good amount of resilience or bad amount of resilience. There's simply awareness for yourself about what kind of resilience you have. So if you have less tolerance for changes, that's a sign that around technology, you just don't have as much resilience. That's not a bad thing. You can build up more resilience, but it's not a bad thing to say, you know what, I'm not so good with changes. And when that happens, it just means that you have to be aware so you can plan better and you can take your time making decisions. You should do longer term strategy planning around your technology, and you need to be able to take your time making decisions. You don't want to be reacting. If you hit an emergency point, I say that most emergencies are preventable, in quotes, emergencies. And so what we want to do as we get better with our systems is be able to recognize those things sooner rather than later. Now, if you have a higher tolerance for change, it means that you can probably leapfrog through different systems or different technology platforms with a little bit more grace and ease, but it's still uncomfortable. That's not really a fun thing to do. And it's very distracting. And it can also take away from the return on investment inside of your business as you're running it. So think about your own awareness around your resilience. A really great marker is, if you have an iPhone, and Apple loves to push out updates. So if you notice that every time Apple pushes an update out, that your heart kind of skips a beat and you're like, oh, God, another update. I don't want to do another update. If that's how you feel, that's a sign of having some resistance and some resilience issues around changes. It could be something bigger than just like an iPhone update, but pay attention so that you know where your limits are in terms of your resilience with your systems. Now, when we look at stages of business when it comes to resilience, this is a nice framework that will help you start figuring out, well, how do I make those decisions? So this is really simplified. You might find that you kind of bounce around between these three major areas that I've boiled it down to. You might find that you're somewhere in the gray area in between, and it's also not uncommon to find yourself going from one area to another simultaneously within your business if you have more than one offer, and definitely if you have more than one audience. So just know that there's no right or better stage here. There's just differences, and knowing which one you're working out of in any particular day or project can make your life a lot easier. So let's start with the starting phase. So when you're starting something, you're definitely like getting that seed of inspiration and you're exploring, and there's a lot of learning and a lot of discovering. It usually means around that offer, you have pretty much an undefined market and your offers are shifting pretty dramatically. There's a lot of bright, shiny object syndrome in this phase. So there's a lot of, ooh, look at that webinar. Ooh, I'm coming to a summit just like this one. Let me see what other people are doing. It's really exciting. It's great to be in a discovery phase. If you're in a discovery phase, embrace it. Be there. It's okay. It doesn't mean that you're behind. And if you've been in a growing phase previously and you're finding yourself back in a starting phase, you haven't been demoted. Nothing's wrong. You're allowed to be there. Take up space. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. It's like being a kid again. You get to explore and play and have fun. In my world, I like to support this in a number of containers, and one of those is through metaphysical readings and things like summits. I run summits too. And they're just different ways to learn about the self, to learn about your offer and your market, and just engage in that learning process. So usually once you have something that starts to, take root a little bit, so a seed plants and you see some root sprouting, that's usually when you start jumping over into the doing phase. And in the doing phase, you're seeking offer market fit. Choices can get distracting at this point because obviously there's a lot happening. You're doing a lot. You could be really busy with software setup. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes you can feel like you have some slow traction because you're still experimenting a little bit. And because there's so much happening in the doing phase, one of the most common questions that I hear from entrepreneurs here is, can you do it for me? They're like, can somebody just take this off my plate? Like, I don't want to do one more thing. Somebody just do it for me. And that's a really natural feeling, but it's also a dangerous question, because if you ask someone to do it for you, but your offer hasn't settled and your market hasn't settled, do you really know what they need to do for you? So one of the things you have to do is you kind of have to keep doing the doing. And one of the ways that I love to support that in the Sensible Woo side is through straight up workshops. So these are, specific around a software tool or around a very specific type of process or project or offer type. And it's because we're doing. And so we just want to solve those speed bumps and the questions and get through them so that we can continue to offer and gain offer market fit. And when you gained offer market fit, you graduate into the growing phase. And you'll know you have offer market fit when you have at least 3 people who have bought your offer at full price. So you're not piloting and you're not testing. They are buying it at full price. And the reason why at least 3 people is so important is because if one person buys it, like, yay, that's super exciting. But it's just one person. Like, it could be luck. And if it's 2 people, it's like, that's also yay, but it's not really enough of a pattern. It could also still be just luck. But when you get 3 people, it's definitely a pattern, and it's definitely not necessarily lucky. Like, there's something happening here. So, and when you're offering at full price, not pilot pricing, that's when you can really start gauging, like, I think this offer and this market are officially actually like growing. And it means that you're establishing your client base and the offer. And at this phase, you can afford in your process brain to start thinking about simplifying, delegating, and automating. And you'll notice that simplifying, delegating, and automating don't show up in the doing and the starting phases, not because they don't belong there. You can engage in some of those activities, but because there isn't a whole lot to really understand exactly how you're going to automate or delegate. Automation is not an automatic process. It takes a lot of legwork to set up good automation. And if you go through the process of setting up automation, but you haven't settled your offer or your market, you'll end up having to redo your automation later. And if you delegate work off your plate to someone or a team of people, you can find yourself having to retrain them or find new people, better people to delegate your work to later, because none of those things are settled. So you just have to know what you're signing up for and what kind of a resilience factor you have in yourself so that you don't end up with those friction points. Now, the growing phase involves a very distinctive shift in mindset, and you'll hear it in your language because you'll say things like, show me the strategy. You don't hire someone and then say, can you do it for me? You say, show me the strategy. Like, let's figure out the process. And when people are in the growing phase, I like to support them through things like incubator groups and VIP coaching. It's a great way to actually dig into those, richer processes and more advanced things like delegation and automation. So think about where you might be anywhere in your business in these 3 stages. And then let's take a look at the next step forward in this. So remember, we're trying to make decisions and not reactions. So just like with your business, you and your business entity, you're here in couples therapy. If both of you are constantly reacting, what happens? It feels like arguments, you're not getting along, it's really uncomfortable. And what you want to do is you want to make decisions together and be in flow together. So what we're trying to do is not react. We're trying to find intentions. What are the intentions? Now, it's a lot easier to see the intentions in your business because certain things will happen. Like, you have a defined market and you have a defined offer and your pricing works. Those are pretty clear. But for you yourself as a human, as a business owner, sometimes it can be a little less clear. And so that's why we do the work on ourselves. That's why you are your best system. So you're going to look for what are your intentions so that you can make better decisions and investments. And investments come in all kinds of forms. Money is almost too obvious of an investment, but it is an investment. I really like to look at things like time as an investment, energy, attention, goals, things like that as investments. And when you choose one investment area over another, you are rebalancing the energy of your life and your business. So if you find that you're always putting the investment portion, like protecting the monetary investment, and you're leaving everything else out in the cold, what do you think happens to how you feel as you're building your business? Is it smooth? Probably not. Probably feels really uncomfortable. Probably feels like you need to come to couples therapy for you and your business technology. But if you only think about, say, things like how much time does it take to set something up, and then you dedicate all your resources to the other areas, like I'll pay anything, and I'll give all my energy, and I'll give all my attention, but it just can't take a lot of time. Well, if that doesn't really work with the process or with the tool that you're choosing, again, the energy is out of balance. It doesn't work. So think about your intentions, think about where you're making reactions, and see if you can rebalance some of these areas. So when we're talking about return on investment, we really want to look at, do we want solutions now or do we want them for the long haul? And in these 2 scenarios, both of them, by the way, are totally valid and totally great. On the one hand, we have this bouquet. So we're using our analogy about roots and flowers and things blooming. And on the right here, you can see a plant with roots. So the bouquet is kind of like the equivalent of hiring a consultant, a technology consultant. And with a technology consultant, they'll show up with this gorgeous bouquet, and it might last for quite a long time. Some cut flowers last a really long time if you take really good care of them. But at some point, the flowers are going to wilt and die. It's a natural part of having a bouquet. And that is okay. We don't get really mad when somebody gives us a bouquet and eventually the bouquet dies and we have to put it in the compost. What happens is if the friction happens is if somebody hands you a bouquet or you ask for a bouquet, but you've bought a bunch of flowers that have been cut off at the stem and they don't have any roots. And you're saying a few weeks later, well, what happened to the roots? I wanted roots. This is where we have a problem. This is where we have friction. And what I find is that a lot of entrepreneurs get kind of tripped up. They'll hire a consultant wanting a coach around their technology, or they'll hire a coach or sign up for like a mastermind program, but they want a consultant who's going to step in there and fix a few things and take it off their plate. And you have to know what one are you really signing up for. You have to get yourself in alignment with that. And the way you get yourself in alignment with that is by understanding that you are your first system. And if you don't understand your process, how is a consultant going to be able to deliver a beautiful bouquet that really will serve you well for the time that it's alive? Or how do you know that you'll sign up with a coach or a program and know that, you're going to spend some time nurturing those roots, just like gardening is like the ultimate act of patience. It takes time for plants to grow, for flowers to bloom, for trees to bear fruit. And if you wanted those yesterday, that's a sign that you really wanted a consultant. So think about this as you're making investments in your business around your tech tools, around the programs you invest in, around the help that you hire, so that you know that you are going to start working more in harmony with your business and stop feeling so much like you need the couples therapy. So if that really helped you figure out your business, you can find more of that in my world. You can find me over on Instagram at Sensible Woo. You can come check me out on my website, sensiblewoo.com. I have a free library in there. You can dive into all kinds of trainings. You can learn more about the major system that I work on with my clients called Digital Feng Shui. And you can also email me at any time, hello@sensiblewoo.com. I will totally be here for you. And I hope that you really learned that you can be emotional, you can be all of you, and that you can learn to operate with your technology on your terms and not feel like you have to smush yourself into some box to make something happen in your business. And I also hope that you bloom with intention this spring so that you can bring your offers out into the world, because we really, really need what you have to offer.